When Donald Trump stepped out the back door of Mar-a-Lago after a late dinner, he didn't expect to find anyone near the loading dock except maybe a sleepy chef or a valet taking a smoke break. Instead, what he found was a sound. Soft. Desperate. The rustle of movement behind the trash bins. Security was a few steps behind him, but Trump lifted a hand to wave them off. "Hold on," he said. "Let me see." He walked quietly toward the sound. The night air was warm. Palm trees rustled gently. The clatter of a tossed can echoed. Then he saw him. A kid, no older than 12, skinny, shirt too big, kneeling by the garbage, sifting through wrappers and takeout containers. Not stealing, searching. The boy flinched when he noticed the movement, looked up, ready to run. But Trump didn't shout, didn't call for guards. He stepped forward, calm. "You hungry?" The boy didn't answer, just stared. Chest rising fast, a banana peel hung from his fingers. "It's okay," Trump said. "I'm not going to hurt you." "I wasn't stealing," the boy said, voice barely a whisper. "I was just looking for something we could eat." "We?" "My sister's waiting. She's 3. She hasn't eaten today." Trump's jaw tightened. "Where is she?" "Behind the fence. I told her to stay hidden." "What's your name?" "Tyler." "Come inside, Tyler." The boy hesitated. "I'm not supposed to talk to people." "I'm not just people," Trump said. "Come on. Bring your sister, too." The guards watched, confused. Trump waved them away again. "Nobody says a word. This stays between us." "Yes, sir." 10 minutes later, Trump sat in the Mar-a-Lago kitchen while 2 kids devoured grilled cheese sandwiches and soup like it was Christmas morning. Tyler sat on the edge of the stool. His sister, Gracie, sat on his lap, her face buried in the bowl. "How long have you been out here?" Trump asked. "Few days. We were in a shelter. Then they ran out of space." "What about parents?" "Mom OD'd. Dad left 2 years ago. We've been bouncing since." "You ever go to school?" "Sometimes. But I can't leave her. I'm all she has." Trump didn't speak for a moment. Just looked at the 2 of them. Then he stood. "Finish eating. Then I'll show you where you're sleeping tonight." Tyler's eyes widened. "We can stay?" "Not in the parking lot. Not on my watch." That night, Trump had 2 guest rooms made up in a side wing. No cameras, no media, just quiet compassion. He paced his office until nearly 3 a.m., staring out at the lawn, thinking. "How many more are out there?" he asked aloud. "How many are digging through garbage while the rest of us don't even see them?" He called his chief of staff. "We need to talk about food insecurity. Tomorrow." "Understood." "And not just meetings. I want to see the numbers, real data, real stories, quiet cases, especially kids." In the morning, Tyler and Gracie were still asleep. Trump left a breakfast tray by the door. Scrambled eggs, fruit. A note scribbled on hotel stationery. "You're safe here. Rest easy. DT." Later that afternoon, he had a longer conversation with Tyler. "What would you do if you could eat every day?" "I'd grow taller." "And your sister?" "She'd smile more." Trump leaned forward. "How many kids you think are like you?" "I don't know. A lot. We see them in the shelters, in the park sometimes. They hide." Trump nodded slowly. "Not anymore." 2 weeks later, Trump walked out of a side hangar at Palm Beach International Airport with Tyler and Gracie beside him. Tyler held a new backpack. Gracie had a stuffed bear and a juice box. The steps to Air Force One gleamed in the sun. No press, no podium, just action. "Where are we going?" Tyler asked. "Washington," Trump said. "I'm going to tell the country your story. And then we're going to fix this. Together." "Why me?" "Because you were brave enough to dig through garbage to feed your sister. That means you're already a leader. Tyler looked up. But I'm just a kid. And I'm just a man who listened. Let's show them what that can do. The three of them climbed the steps together. And somewhere across the country, a boy in another alley looked up from a trash can, not knowing that someone had just lit a fire for kids like him, and the world was about to hear it. The plane lifted into the clouds with barely a hum. Tyler sat by the window, face pressed to the glass. Gracie curled up beside him under a warm blanket. Trump sat across from them at the conference table, not talking much, just watching. The boy had cleaned up, new clothes, a fresh haircut, but the eyes were the same, alert, wary, too old for his age. "You ever been on a plane?" Trump asked. Tyler shook his head. "Never thought I'd be on this one." "Neither did most people," Trump said. "But here you are. Why are you helping us?" "Because I should have helped kids like you a long time ago." "Is it because I'm on the news now?" "You're not on the news," Trump said. "Nobody knows you're here. This isn't about a headline. This is about a promise." Tyler looked down. "Nobody ever promised me anything before." "Then I'll be the first." They landed at Andrews quietly. No reporters, no speeches. A single SUV took them to a quiet residence just outside the city. Trump had called in favors. A small home was being prepped for Tyler and Gracie. Temporary guardians, private schooling, therapy, 3 meals a day. But first, there was something he wanted to do. The next morning, Trump entered a press briefing in D.C. and stood behind a simple podium. No tie, just a dark coat and a serious tone. "2 weeks ago, I found a boy digging through garbage outside Mar-a-Lago. He wasn't looking for trouble. He was looking for food, for his little sister. And that moment changed me." Cameras clicked. Reporters shifted. Trump didn't blink. "I've talked about winning, about strength. But real strength, that's a 12-year-old boy doing what it takes to protect his family when the system forgets him. That's a child saying nothing because no one ever asked to listen." He paused. "Starting today, we launch Operation Full Plate, a nationwide initiative, not to study hunger, not to debate it, to end it. We will identify high-risk zones, mobilize food delivery, fund local efforts directly. No bureaucracy, no games, just food and dignity." Hands shot up. "Is this a political move?" one asked. Trump stared him down. "If feeding hungry kids is political, maybe you're in the wrong job." Tyler and Gracie watched from a small room behind the stage. A staffer handed them cookies and headphones. "That's your friend," she whispered. "That's your story." Trump finished the speech with a quiet promise. No child in this country should go to sleep hungry, and no child should feel invisible. Not on my watch. Not anymore. The video exploded online. Even critics went quiet. Something was different. This wasn't a campaign moment. This was personal. Trump returned to the small residence that evening. Tyler opened the door before he knocked. "I saw you on TV." "How'd I look?" "You looked like you meant it." "I did." Gracie ran up and hugged his leg. "You smell like the airplane," she giggled. Trump smiled. "That's the best compliment I've had all week." Over the next few days, Trump stayed close. Oversaw the rollout of Operation Full Plate, partnered with food banks, spoke with church groups, met with truck drivers willing to donate time and routes. "We don't need another federal task force," he said. "We need action. We need Americans feeding Americans." Tyler started writing again. Short stories, journal entries, little drawings of airplanes and kitchens. One page showed a trash can with an arrow pointing to a dinner table. Above it, he wrote, "Where it started, where it's going." Trump saw it on the fridge and stared at it for a long time. "You're going to change the world," he said quietly. "Not me. You." Tyler shrugged. "You came back for us. And now we go back for the others." The plan was working. Calls came in from cities, towns, reservations. Mayors asked to join. School principals offered weekend kitchens. Veterans volunteered to deliver meals. It wasn't government, it was community. And Trump let it grow, guided it, protected it. Not from a throne, but from the ground level. Just like the boy who had first looked up at him from behind a trash bin, holding nothing but hope and an empty stomach. 3 weeks after the announcement, Operation Full Plate had launched in 12 cities. By the 4th week, it was in 40. Local pastors were distributing boxes from church parking lots. Farmers were donating fresh produce. Veterans were helping deliver meals to mobile homes and alleyways no one else would visit. And everywhere it reached, one name kept coming up: Tyler. Not as a victim, as a spark, someone to rally around. Trump didn't allow the media to interview him. "He's a kid," he told reporters. "Let him be one." But Tyler was watching. Every night he asked for updates. "Did the boxes get to Cleveland?" "Yes." "What about Tulsa?" "Truck left this morning." "And the kids in the motel near the gas station?" "Got lunch and dinner." "Good." He smiled when he heard that. Gracie was back in preschool, drawing pictures of their big airplane and singing nursery songs with the other kids. She still held Trump's note in her backpack. "You're safe here. D.T." Meanwhile, Trump worked late nights, not in boardrooms, in kitchens, warehouses, small-town school cafeterias where he shook hands with janitors and lunch ladies and called them heroes. "You're doing more for this country than most senators," he told one woman in Arkansas. She cried on the spot. He visited food distribution lines and handed out milk cartons like he was just another volunteer. Sometimes people recognized him. Sometimes they didn't. He didn't care either way. In West Virginia, he saw a little girl with dirt on her cheeks eating an apple like it was gold. Her mom whispered, "We haven't had fresh fruit in a month." Trump crouched beside her. "You do now, and you will again tomorrow." "You're really doing this?" the mom asked. "No speeches? Just food." "Why?" "Because I met a boy who reminded me what leadership looks like." That night he called Tyler. "You still writing?" "Every day." "Keep going. You're the reason all of this is happening." "I'm just a kid." "Exactly. That's what makes it matter more." By the end of the month, 1.2 million meals had been delivered. But Trump wasn't finished. He held a small summit with governors, invited only those who had joined the program. No partisanship, no posturing, just solutions. "You want the credit?" he said. "Take it. Just feed the kids." He set a new goal: 5 million meals in 90 days. "We don't wait for Congress. We move now." Faith groups joined. Country clubs offered storage. Retired truckers got back on the road. America was moving, not because of politics, because of people. And at the heart of it all was one moment, one boy, one trash can, and a man who stopped walking and started listening. Meanwhile, Tyler had started drawing logos, sketching ideas for what a real national food security campaign should look like. He came up with a name: the Second Plate. "Because the first one's survival," he said. "The second one's dignity." Trump loved it. That's the kind of thinking that wins. The design was printed on flyers, boxes, even the trucks. A plate with an American flag painted across it. Simple, clear. "We need to get you in front of people," Trump said one day. "Let them hear your voice." "Only if Gracie comes too." "Of course she will." They flew back to Florida. Not to Mar-a-Lago. To a warehouse Trump had converted into a supply hub for the Southeast. Hundreds gathered. Families, workers, teachers. Cameras rolled. Tyler stepped up with a small mic clipped to his collar. Trump stood behind him. "I used to be scared," Tyler began, "mostly of being invisible, of no one seeing me or my sister. But someone did, and now, because of him, we get to help other kids eat and sleep and feel okay again. I'm just one kid, but you can listen. You can help. You can change everything." He stepped back. Trump didn't say a word, just placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. And that was enough. The clip went viral, but this time, not as a spectacle, as a movement, a reminder that even the biggest names can be built on the smallest, quietest moments, like handing food to a hungry child in the dark. 3 days after Tyler's speech, the donations doubled. A retired farmer in Iowa donated his last year's grain to feed school lunch programs. A woman in Tennessee opened a storefront she couldn't lease and turned it into a free meal center. A bus driver in South Dakota spent his pension converting an old school bus into a rolling pantry. They didn't do it because Trump told them to. They did it because someone finally made the problem human. Trump had changed the way America looked at hunger, not as a crisis to manage, but a fight to win. "People want to help," he told his team. "They just need a door to walk through." That door was now called the Second Plate. It wasn't just a name, it was a culture. Every box delivered had a hand-signed note from a volunteer. Every meal came with a message. "We see you. You're not alone." Tyler and Gracie moved into a permanent home outside D.C. A local couple took them in. Friends of the Trump family, no press involved. Just warm meals, a garden, and a bedroom filled with books and sunlight. Trump visited once a week, sometimes with updates, sometimes just to sit. He brought Tyler a leather notebook. "For the speeches you'll write one day?" "I don't know if I'll do that." "You already are." "Do you ever get tired?" Tyler asked one day. "All the time. But when I remember why I started, I get back up." "What if you forget?" Trump looked at him. "Then I look at you." They traveled together now, quietly. Florida, Ohio, Pennsylvania. Trump would speak. Tyler would stand beside him. Gracie, now in first grade, always nearby, holding a teddy bear with a sticker that said, "Hope is still real." One night in Missouri, a boy named Caleb approached them after an event. "I used to eat ketchup packets for dinner," he whispered to Tyler. "But now we get the boxes every week." "Do they help?" "They saved my mom." Tyler hugged him without hesitation. "You're not alone anymore." Trump saw it, took note. He called for a new initiative inside the program. Peer-to-peer letters. Every child receiving food could write one letter of encouragement to another child. They called it Voices on the Plate. Within weeks, mail flooded in. Crayon drawings, misspelled words, pages soaked in hope. Kids helping kids. And the country took notice, but not everyone praised it. One columnist sneered, "This is just charity cosplay, Trump trying to clean up his image." Trump read it once, then threw it away. "They never see the kid," he said. "They only see the headlines." Tyler noticed his silence. "Does it bother you?" "Used to." "Why not now?" "Because I've already changed lives they'll never meet." "That's enough." One morning, a school principal called. "We'd like Tyler to come speak." Trump hesitated. "He's still a kid. He's already a leader." They went. Small town, gymnasium with peeling paint and a sound system from the 90s. But the room was full. Tyler took the mic, told the story, the trash, the sandwich, the airplane, the promise. Sometimes you think nobody sees you, but then someone does. And when that happens, it's your turn to see someone else. The kids clapped. Teachers wiped their eyes. Trump shook the principal's hand. Thank you for giving him a stage. He didn't just speak, she said. He lit something. Across the country, that light kept spreading. Not like a wildfire, like a lantern in every town, every lunch line, every forgotten alley. And Trump kept showing up. No applause, no armor, just sleeves rolled up and a box in his hands. Because once you kneel beside one child in the dark, you never forget how to stand up for the rest. By the start of the new year, the second plate had reached every state. Not just the big cities, the small towns, the mining communities, the trailer parks tucked behind forgotten highways. They called it the quiet network. Not loud, not flashy, just effective. And the center of it wasn't a boardroom or a policy memo. It was a living room in a small house where two kids once starved quietly outside a mansion. Trump never let anyone forget that. They were 20 feet away from luxury, he said. That's how close pain is in this country, right outside our gates. Tyler had become more than a face. He was the voice, not of sorrow, of survival, not of pity, of progress. He started hosting town halls with Trump, seated side by side, one question at a time. No scripts, just honesty. One mother stood up and asked, "Why did it take you to do this? Where was everyone else?" Trump paused. Sometimes it takes falling before we notice who's already on the ground. I should have seen it sooner, but I saw it now, and I'm not letting go. The crowd clapped. Not for him, for the truth. Later that night, Tyler asked him, "Do you think they forgive you?" Trump leaned back in his chair. "It's not about that. It's about what we build now." He was right, because what they were building was working. Food insecurity dropped in 3 key regions. Dropout rates in hungry school zones decreased. Behavioral problems linked to malnutrition were down. Principals called it the lunch effect. And Trump's name was attached to it, not as a politician, but as a participant. He visited food trucks, packed crates, took selfies with 9-year-olds, ate meals in church basements and school cafeterias. One day, a girl handed him a peanut butter sandwich. "It's all I have," she said. He took it, ate it, said, "Best one I've ever had." Tyler smiled. "You didn't have to eat that." "Yes, I did," Trump said. "That was her way of giving back." Gracie made bracelets, hundreds of them. Red, white, and blue yarn tied into simple knots. Every child who received a meal got one. She called them full heart bands. Teachers wrote in, said kids wore them to class like medals. Trump had one on his wrist every day. When reporters asked about it, he simply said, "A little girl made it." That's all you need to know. The media started shifting. Even former critics admitted something real was happening. Not politics, not performance, a movement. One Sunday morning, a pastor in Alabama said from the pulpit, "I don't care what party you are. If you feed a child, you're doing the Lord's work." Trump read the quote in a clipping someone mailed him, kept it in his pocket for a week, whispered it once before stepping onto a stage. "Lord's work," he said. "Let's do more of it." Then came the dinner. Not a gala, a gathering. Trump invited 100 kids from the program and their families to a special meal. They called it the Empty Plate Supper. Each table had one plate set aside, empty, with a note that read, "For the ones still waiting." Tyler opened the night with a short message. "This plate means we still have work to do, but we don't quit. We fill the next one. Then the next." One by one, the guests filled the empty plates with notes, prayers, drawings, pledges. By the end of the night, Every plate held something. No one left untouched. That night, Trump sat outside under the stars, coat draped over his shoulders, Gracie asleep on his lap. Tyler sat beside him. "You ever think about that night?" "Which one?" "The one by the trash can." Trump nodded. "Every day." "Me too." "Changed everything." "Yeah," Tyler whispered. "It did." They sat like that until the sky turned quiet. Because sometimes the loudest legacy is built from the softest beginnings. They called it the ripple effect. One boy gets seen. One girl gets fed. One teacher starts a program. One town starts a movement. Soon, the ripples became waves. Within 9 months, the second plate had served over 15 million meals. It became the fastest-growing volunteer initiative in American history. But something else happened, harder to measure. Hope. Communities that had been quiet for years found a reason to talk again. People who had stopped believing in government started believing in each other. Not because Trump gave them orders, but because he gave them space. "I'm not the hero," he kept saying. "The hungry kids are. The single moms are. The lunch ladies and janitors and truckers are. I just opened the door." One of those truckers, a man named Hank from Kentucky, started sending weekly logs to the team. "Third week running. Delivering to forgotten places. Haven't felt this proud since my first haul." Trump read them all, posted one on his wall. "This is America," he said. Tyler had started attending school again. Real school. Uniform, backpack, friends. One day, his class asked him to do a presentation on his hero. Everyone expected him to say Trump. He stood up, took a breath, and said, "My hero is a trash can." The class froze. "Not because it gave me food," he continued, "but because it gave me a moment that changed everything. A moment when someone saw me. And when that happened, I stopped being invisible." The teacher wiped her eyes. Trump laughed when he heard the story. Kid's gonna run the country one day. Gracie was growing fast. Learning piano, singing songs she made up. Her favorite one went, "One bite, one smile, one full heart for a while." She sang it to Trump at a small Christmas event and handed him a wrapped sandwich with a bow. He unwrapped it, took a bite. "Perfect," he said. "Better than the steaks?" "Let's not go that far," he smirked. The press kept asking for interviews. Trump kept declining. "This isn't about press, it's about presence." He focused instead on training volunteers. He showed up at warehouses and asked, "Who's new?" Then helped them load boxes. He started recognizing faces, giving them nicknames. "You're the peanut butter king. You're the juice box queen. You're the guy who stacked 10 crates in one go." The people loved it, not just because he showed up, because he remembered them. And when someone remembers you, you give more. One afternoon, while visiting a distribution hub in Texas, a teenage girl asked him, "Why are you really doing this?" He paused. "Because I saw what the world looked like when I didn't." She nodded. "It looks better now." That night, Trump sat with Tyler watching a baseball game on TV. "You like the Yankees?" Trump asked. "Not really. I just like when someone wins who didn't think they could." "You're one of those." "You too." They didn't say much more. Didn't have to. Because the scoreboard of their lives had already changed. And the inning wasn't over. That week, Congress voted to expand the second plate nationally. Funding passed with bipartisan support. Some said it was the only thing they'd agreed on in a decade. Trump didn't throw a party. He called Tyler. They voted. For what? For you. What do we do now? Now? Trump smiled. We feed more. The next day, he visited a reservation in the Dakotas. handed out stew bowls in a church basement with cracked windows. One boy looked at him and said, "Are you the guy who helps the invisible kids?" Trump knelt down and answered, "That's exactly who I am." The night before the one-year anniversary of the second plate, Trump stood alone on the Mar-a-Lago balcony, the same one he'd stepped out of the night he found Tyler. He looked out over the back parking lot. The same spot, same shadows, different world. He remembered the rustle of trash, the boy's thin arms, the banana peel. He hadn't told anyone, but that moment still lived inside him like a flickering lamp. Not shame, not pity, purpose. The next morning, the national event began. It wasn't in a stadium. It wasn't in a ballroom. It was in a repurposed hangar at a military base near Virginia. Fold-out chairs, string lights, long tables stacked with meal boxes and letters from children. Hundreds of volunteers lined up in shirts that said, "We see you." Tyler was one of the speakers. No tie, just a microphone and truth. "You don't have to be rich to give," he said. "You don't have to be powerful to lead. You just have to be willing to stop and listen." The crowd stood when he finished. Trump came up beside him, gave him a quiet pat on the back. "He's got it," Trump said. "He's got everything." Then came the moment no one expected. The surprise announcement. Trump stepped up and revealed the final phase of the initiative. "We are creating America's first hunger rescue network, not a program, a system, permanent, sustainable, a coalition of churches, grocers, farmers, truckers, and families. We will use AI to track real-time needs, optimize food routes, and eliminate waste across the country." People gasped. It was bold, smart, real. "This is what leadership looks like when it listens," he said. Tyler watched from the side, heart pounding. That night, Trump took him aside. "Tomorrow we visit a shelter in Michigan. You ready?" "Always." "Think you'll do this your whole life?" "I don't think I can stop." "Then let's keep going." They flew out early. No press. Snow on the ground. The shelter was full of kids and worn-out mothers. Trump walked in with hot food and coats. Gracie handed out bracelets. Tyler gave every child a letter. One boy opened his and read aloud, "You matter. You are seen. You are worth more than your hunger." He started crying. Trump placed a coat around his shoulders. "You're going to be warm tonight," he said. The boy looked up. "Promise?" "Promise." Later, in the van, Tyler asked him, "Do you still remember that banana peel?" "Every time I close my eyes." "Me too." "That means we're still on the right path." In the months that followed, the network grew stronger. Businesses donated surplus food. Tech companies joined in. Apps were created. Schools became overnight shelters on holidays. Truck stops became food hubs. And everywhere you looked, a red, white, and blue bracelet reminded the country, someone cared. Trump declined awards, refused to make it part of any campaign. "This isn't about elections," he said. "This is about children. And children don't need speeches. They need dinner." That line stuck. Ended up on bumper stickers, T-shirts, the cover of Time. But Trump didn't frame it. He kept it taped to the inside of his office door, so he'd see it every morning. Tyler kept writing, started speaking at churches, schools, and small-town events. Not for fame, for fire. "If one kid finds food because I opened my mouth, then I keep opening it." He and Trump became a team. Not boss and kid. Mission partners. One feeding hope. The other feeding vision. Both feeding America. Spring came early in Georgia that year. Warm winds, blossoms blooming on trees that had seen too much winter. Trump stood beside Tyler on the steps of a small community church. waving to families as crates of food were wheeled into the fellowship hall. The building smelled like coffee and old hymnals. Tyler held a clipboard. Gracie handed out stickers that said, "You're somebody." A little girl came up, no more than 5. "Are you the food man?" she asked Trump. He crouched to eye level. "No, sweetheart. I'm the listening man." She hugged his neck, then ran off. Inside, Pastor Wallace grabbed a mic and welcomed everyone. "We've had revivals before," he said, "but this is resurrection." Trump took no credit, just walked pew to pew, shaking hands, asking questions. "How's the route working? You getting enough deliveries?" "Yes, sir. You saved us." "No," Trump said. "You saved each other. I just reminded you that you could." After the event, they drove an hour to visit a mobile food clinic, a retrofitted RV with nutritionists and therapists inside. Tyler spent time helping a boy with a learning disability fill out a meal journal. "I forget sometimes," the boy said. "That's okay," Tyler smiled. "We're here to remember together." Outside, Trump stood under a pine tree talking to a volunteer. "You know," the man said, "when I saw you on the news, I didn't think this was real. Then you showed up, and I thought, maybe we're not forgotten." "You're not," Trump said. "Not one of you." Later that night, Trump, Tyler, and Gracie sat on folding chairs behind the clinic, eating sandwiches. No cameras, no noise, just stars overhead. "You tired?" Trump asked. "Always," Tyler said. "But the good kind." "Same." Gracie leaned her head on Trump's arm. "I want to help more kids." "You already are," he said. "You're the light in this thing." She giggled. "You're the airplane guy." He smiled. "Still am." Over the next month, they visited reservations in New Mexico, coal towns in West Virginia, and flooded-out neighborhoods in Mississippi. Each stop was different, but each had the same look. Weariness, and the same sound. Gratitude. One man in Biloxi said, "I never thought I'd see a former president carrying milk crates into my church basement." Trump laughed. "I used to carry hotels. Crates are lighter." Back in D.C., a national report was released. Hunger rates among school-age children were down 47% since the second plate began. One journalist said, "Whatever you think about Trump, this is real." The story ran without bias, just facts. It trended for days. Tyler didn't care about headlines. He cared about the girl in Oregon who wrote, "My belly doesn't hurt anymore. Thank you, Trump guy." He framed it, gave it to Trump. "This is the only poll I trust," Trump said. By summer, the full rescue network was operational. AI systems tracked overstock food in real time. Churches in Ohio were now linked to farms in Kansas. Trucks ran 24/7. And bracelets kept showing up on wrists from coast to coast. Red, white, blue. Handmade by Gracie. Worn by America. Then came the award ceremony. A major humanitarian group wanted to honor Trump and Tyler in New York. Trump said no. Tyler asked why. "Because it's not finished." "When will it be?" Trump looked at him. "When no kid is ever scared of dinner again." So they skipped the spotlight and visited a halfway house instead. Brought dinner. Sat down. Talked. A recovering father looked at them both and said, "You made me want to be a dad again." Tyler nodded. "You can be." And that was it. That was the real ceremony. That was the medal. That was America becoming herself again. Not in stadiums, but in silence. Not in speeches, but in second helpings. And Trump, once again, knew this was the work worth doing. Because when you lift a child, you lift a nation. The morning was quiet in Vermont. Fog hanging over the hills. Tyler stood outside a tiny wooden cabin, waiting for Trump. It had become their tradition. Once a month, They picked one forgotten zip code and showed up without notice. No press, no prep, just presence. This time it was a place where most people had stopped believing in anything but winter. A little girl opened the cabin door and stared at them. "You're the food people," she whispered. "We try to be," Trump said. Her dad came to the door, thin, tired. "We're not used to visitors." "We're not here to visit," Trump said. "We're here to help." Inside, they unloaded the van. Not just food, but boots, blankets, vitamins. Tyler sat on the floor and helped the girl with her spelling homework. "Do you know what the word dignity means?" She shook her head. "It means you matter, even when things are hard." She smiled. "Then you have dignity too." That night, back in the motel, Trump stared at the TV without watching. "We should do more," he said. "We're already doing more than anyone," Tyler said. "It's not enough. It's never going to feel like enough. But what if it's exactly what's needed right now?" Trump nodded. "You sound like you've done this before." "I lived it," Tyler said. "You just gave me the microphone." The next week, Trump proposed something bold: the Empty Plate Fund, a permanent, privately funded endowment to guarantee food access for at-risk children, regardless of politics or economic swings. "It's not charity," he said. "It's infrastructure for human dignity." Billionaires called, some mocked, others donated. Elon Musk sent a warehouse. A country singer gave up his entire tour proceeds. A small bakery in Iowa sent $18 in quarters. "Use it well," the note read. They used it all. Smartly, quietly, and fast. Meanwhile, Tyler kept visiting schools. Sometimes he walked in with just a book and a smile. "Ask me anything," he'd say. One child asked, "Are you rich now?" "No," Tyler said, "but I've got everything I need." Another asked, "Is Trump your dad?" "Number he's my friend." That answer traveled far. Headlines read, "Trump called friend by boy he rescued." Trump shrugged it off. Truth sounds strange to people who've forgotten what it looks like. In private moments, Trump sometimes grew quiet. "I wish I'd done this sooner," he said one night. "You did it when it mattered," Tyler replied, "and that's what counts." Summer melted into fall. The second plate was now in 90% of public school districts. Food deliveries arrived in lockers. Kids picked them up like textbooks. No shame, no questions, just lunch. And bracelets. Always the bracelets. Gracie had expanded production. Now other kids helped her make them. They called themselves the Full Heart Club. And one day, in a small post office in Kansas, a volunteer found a letter in a food box. It said, "You saved me from giving up. Thank you. K." They never found out who wrote it, but they kept the letter anyway, because it was proof. Proof that every box carried more than food. It carried faith. Faith that someone, somewhere, had the courage to care. And behind it all was a boy who once begged behind a trash can, a girl with a bag of bracelets, and a man who could have looked away, but didn't. Because sometimes, the most powerful thing a leader can do is stop, kneel, listen, and change everything. The National Summit was held in Tennessee, in a converted gymnasium surrounded by farmland and old churches. There were no suits, no teleprompters, just folding chairs, clipboards, and kids with stories to tell. Trump arrived in a denim jacket. Tyler wore a hoodie with a bracelet on each wrist. Gracie ran around with a clipboard full of coloring pages. On the wall behind the main stage were the words, "We feed because we see." Leaders from every state showed up. Mayors, pastors, food truck drivers, moms who once stood in line now stood at the microphone. "You saved my family," one said. "Now I volunteer twice a week." "I used to feel ashamed," said another. "Now I feel strong." Then Tyler walked on stage. No notes, just presence. "We don't measure success by headlines," he said. "We measure it by the sound of a kid's stomach not growling at bedtime." The room went still, then wild with applause. Trump stood in the back, hands folded, eyes wet. Not from sadness, from pride. He wasn't the speaker. He was the student. The movement had outgrown him, and that was exactly the point. The next morning, a surprise announcement. Trump revealed the new headquarters of the Second Plate Initiative would be built in a reclaimed warehouse outside St. Louis. It would include a kitchen, storage facility, training center, and museum of the movement's story. "We're not just building systems," he said. "We're building memory. So this never has to happen again." The groundbreaking was live-streamed. Tyler placed the first shovel in the ground. Gracie planted a red, white, and blue flower in the soil. Trump placed a hand on both their shoulders. "America will remember this," he whispered. "Not as a project, as a promise." Across the country, people joined in. Restaurants offered second plate specials, meals you could buy for someone else. Schools held Fill the Plate days, where students brought extra snacks for others. Even sports teams got involved. Jerseys bore the Full Heart Band. One baseball player hit a grand slam and pointed to the bracelet on his wrist. "That was for the kids," he told ESPN. Still, Trump stayed out of the spotlight. He let the stories speak. Let the boxes speak. Let the bracelets and warm meals do the work. Until one day, the call came. A hospital in Florida had an emergency. A flood had wiped out power. Dozens of low-income families were trapped with no food. Trump didn't delegate. He flew in, carried water, helped cook meals on propane burners, slept on a cot. When the power came back, a nurse hugged him and said, "You didn't have to come?" "Yes, I did," he said, "because they would have come for me." Later that night, Trump sat outside under the stars. Tyler joined him. "Ever feel like this was too big?" "Only when I forget how small it started. Just a trash can. Just a sandwich. Just a little boy." They smiled. Then Trump added, "And a man who could have called security, but didn't." Tyler nodded. That's when the world changed. By winter, the second plate was in every county in America. The hunger rate among children had dropped to historic lows. The bracelets had become more than a symbol. They were now a sign of a nation that remembered how to care. And at the center was still the same trio: a kid with a story, a girl with a smile, a man with a promise, and a country still learning how to feed its own heart. It started with one letter. A fourth-grade class from Nebraska had written to the Second Plate headquarters. Each student included one drawing, one prayer, and one idea. "Let's build a treehouse where kids can eat," one said. "Let's make lunch boxes that play music so kids don't feel alone," said another. Trump read every word. He sat at his desk in silence, holding the stack of notes. Then he looked at Tyler. "What if we created the first kid-designed food centers in the country?" "You mean, let them design how it looks? Let them dream it up. Colors, layout, music, smells, safety." "Make it feel like home," Tyler said. "Exactly." And so began the Hope House project. Trump gathered architects. Tyler gathered the letters. Gracie made a list of things that made her feel safe: soft lights, warm soup, stories read out loud. The first Hope House was built outside of Nashville, painted in colors chosen by children. Inside were food counters shaped like tree trunks, reading corners, art tables, cubbies full of snacks, and a rule on the wall: everyone eats, no one explains. When it opened, hundreds came. Kids cried. Parents cried harder. A boy whispered to Trump, "Doesn't feel like a shelter. It feels like someone was waiting for me." Trump knelt down. We were. Hope houses spread fast. Within 6 months, 20 cities had one, then 50, then 100. Each one slightly different, but always with the same rules, and always with a plaque at the entrance, inspired by Tyler, protected by Gracie, made possible by you. Trump visited them all, quietly, sometimes just to sit, sometimes to talk to a child about superheroes. Batman or Superman? He'd ask. You, one kid said. You didn't fly, but you came anyway. Meanwhile, Tyler kept speaking. Gracie kept singing, and America kept building. But not everything was easy. A large food supplier tried to charge inflated prices. Trump called them out, publicly. You don't profit off children's pain. The company folded under pressure. We're not perfect, Trump said, but we don't bend to greed. Tyler asked, do you ever worry people will forget this one day? Not if we keep telling the story. So they started the Story Plate podcast. Each week, one volunteer, one child, one moment. No politics, just people. It became the top-rated podcast in the country within a month. Stories like a boy in Detroit who started his own snack drive, a teacher in Idaho who used her weekends to bake meals, a janitor in Arizona who turned his shed into a food pantry. Each story ended with the same words, pass the plate forward. And the country did. One act at a time, one lunchbox, one bracelet, one letter, one warm sandwich under a highway bridge. Because the second plate had stopped being a program, it was now a movement, a mindset, a reminder that beneath the noise, America still had a pulse, and it beat hardest when it fed others. Trump watched it all from the sidelines. He didn't ask for applause. He just asked for more boxes to be packed, more kids to be reached, more lives to be restored. You started this, Tyler told him. No, Trump said. You did. I just didn't walk away. Winter brought snow to Pennsylvania, and with it came the cold calls. Not from politicians or donors, from principals, bus drivers, foster moms. We've got 4 kids sleeping in the gym. We've got 2 teens hiding in the library for warmth. We've got a baby eating crackers in a closet. The second plate didn't panic. It responded. Trump called a meeting that night. We need winter kits, he said. Now! Blankets, meals, thermals, gloves. Within 48 hours, shipments rolled out. Truckers with bracelets on their mirrors made the hauls. Cafeterias stayed open late. Churches opened basements. Nobody waited for permission. They just acted. That was the real legacy. Ordinary people doing extraordinary things because someone believed they could. On Christmas Eve, Trump visited a rural outpost in Indiana. It was snowing sideways. He wore a scarf Tyler gave him and boots Gracie had picked out. Inside, 25 families sat on cots with trays of soup and Christmas cookies. A volunteer handed Trump a guitar. You sing? I lead, he said. Then he strummed the chords to Silent Night. Tyler and Gracie joined in. So did everyone else. A woman with a newborn whispered through tears, I didn't think we'd have Christmas this year. Trump smiled. America never lets go of its own. Not on my watch. That night, back at the inn, he sat by the fire, deep in thought. Tyler noticed. You okay? Just thinking how close I was to missing all of this. What do you mean? That night by the trash. If I'd looked the other way, none of this. But you didn't. Number and now, the whole country's looking in the right direction. The new year brought milestones. Over 30 million meals served. Every state reporting drops in child hunger. Hope houses in all 50 states. And a resolution passed unanimously in Congress naming the first Saturday of each December Second Plate Day. Trump didn't attend the ceremony. He was in Kentucky, building crates with volunteers. A boy came up and handed him a bracelet. "This one's for your bad days," he said. Trump looked at it. "Why do you think I have bad days?" "Because even heroes get tired." Trump laughed. "Then I'll wear this every day." Meanwhile, Gracie had started her own side project, Heart Letters, kids writing encouragement notes to each other in hard times. "Because food feeds the stomach," she said, "but words feed the heart." Tyler helped her scale it. Schools began requesting heart letter kits. Cafeterias started adding reading corners. Teachers reported fewer fights, more smiles. One counselor said, "We stopped labeling kids as problems. We started seeing them as possibilities." That became a mantra. Trump repeated it in every meeting. Not problems, possibilities. And people listened. Because when a man who once built towers says kids matter more than gold, the country tilts its head and listens. On the first anniversary of the movement, they held a quiet dinner at Mar-a-Lago. No guests, just Trump, Tyler, Gracie, 3 plates, 1 candle. Gracie passed out homemade cards. "This is for who we used to be," she said, "and who we're helping next." Trump raised his glass of milk. "To the invisible kids, now seen." Tyler nodded. "To second plates and second chances." They clinked glasses. A soft moment in a loud world. And somewhere in the shadows of that night, the boy by the trash can smiled. Because he was never just hungry. He was always meant for more. And thanks to one man's pause, a sister's heart, and a country that remembered how to care, he got to be more. So did we all. The museum opened quietly. No ribbon cutting, no orchestra. Just a brass plaque on a sunlit wall that read, "This movement began with a sandwich no one finished, and a child no one saw." The museum was built inside the Second Plate headquarters. Visitors walked through rooms that felt like memories. The first bracelet, the first letter, a replica of the trash can where it started, placed under soft lights. Tyler stood beside Trump during the opening. "You sure people need to see this?" "They need to remember it," Trump said. "Because when you forget what hunger feels like, you forget who you are." School groups started visiting. Volunteers signed up in record numbers. Tour guides told the story like scripture. That was the moment. The moment a nation looked down instead of away. Tyler became a curator of impact. He tracked ripple stories. The teacher who started a food poetry club. The grandma who turned her living room into a snack shelf. The ex-convict who baked bread for shelters every Sunday. One reporter asked Trump, "Why a museum?" He answered, "Because when you make a mistake and then make it right, that deserves to be remembered." Gracie added a final touch, a wall of drawings from kids who once received meals, stick figures holding hands, plates with smiley faces. One just said, "Thank you for seeing me." The wall stretched the entire back hallway. Visitors left in tears and hope. Meanwhile, the Second Plate had gone global. Tyler was invited to speak in Canada. Gracie's bracelets were being worn by kids in South Africa. Trump took a call from a leader in Asia wanting to replicate the model. He told him, "It's not about food, it's about sight. See the people." The rest follows. Back home, a new pilot program launched, Plate Forward Jobs, aimed at helping teens who'd aged out of the foster system. Trump said, "If you can feed them, you can also fund their future." Apprenticeships, kitchen training, tech certificates. One boy wrote, "I was supposed to disappear at 18. Now I'm running a kitchen in Ohio." Trump framed the letter, carried it in his jacket. Tyler kept moving too. He started writing a book, not about Trump, about the kids. "The world listens to stories," he said. "We just need to keep telling the right ones." At one event, a girl asked, "Are you famous now?" He laughed. "I'm fed. That's more important." And then came the news. An economic downturn hit parts of the country hard. Jobs lost. Costs rising. Some feared the progress would fall apart, but it didn't, because the network held. Volunteers doubled down. Churches opened earlier. Schools stayed late. And the food never stopped flowing. Because now it wasn't Trump's program. It was America's. A mom in Iowa said it best. "They can take our hours. They can raise our rent. But they can't take this table. Not anymore." That winter, Tyler, Gracie, and Trump sat again on the Mar-a-Lago balcony. Same place, same view, different world. "It's working," Tyler said. "Because it was never about me," Trump replied. "It was about you, and her, and everyone we passed along the way." Gracie leaned against him. "I want to build a new Hope House." "Where?" "Right next to the White House." He smiled. "That's where the hungry live, too." They laughed. Quiet laughter. The kind that only happens when the impossible turns into the inevitable. And outside, past the gates and cameras, another child somewhere opened a box with warm food, a hand-drawn letter, and a bracelet they would never take off. The day the statue went up, there were no speeches, no cameras, just a small crowd in a park behind the old VA hospital in Florida. The same hospital where a decade earlier, Trump had helped a blind boy named Eli find light again. Now, in the corner of the field, a new bronze sculpture stood under canvas. Trump, Tyler, and Gracie stood in the grass waiting. A local pastor pulled the cover off. Gasps echoed across the crowd. It wasn't a statue of Trump shaking hands or giving a speech. It was Trump kneeling beside a trash can, his hand on the shoulder of a thin boy, a sandwich in his other hand. No words, just posture. A moment, frozen in metal. The crowd clapped, but Trump didn't move. He stared at it like it was a mirror. Tyler stepped beside him. "You okay?" "That's not just me. That's a version of all of us. Who we are when we stop pretending we don't see." Later, a reporter would ask him what the statue meant. He'd reply, "It means leadership starts when your back is turned to the podium." That same week, Hope House number 100 opened in Baltimore. It was designed by local teens, spray-painted murals, a music room with donated guitars, a freezer stocked by nearby restaurants. On the wall above the entrance was a phrase Gracie had come up with. "No one eats alone today." Inside, a young girl hugged Trump and whispered, "Do you remember me?" He looked down. "Remind me." "You gave me soup in Indiana. I was in a pink coat. I couldn't stop crying." He smiled. "And now you're here. Now I help serve." That night, Trump stood outside watching the lights flicker through the window. "This is better than a rally," he said. "Way better," Tyler added. By spring, the Second Plate Initiative had hit a new milestone. Zero food waste among partner organizations. Every unsold meal, extra tray, unserved sandwich, accounted for and redirected. The system had become so efficient that other countries were requesting the playbook. Trump gave it away for free. "Feeding people isn't a product," he said. "It's a responsibility." He also funded a leadership academy for teens from food-insecure families. They called it the Full Table Fellowship. The first class had 50 students, future mayors, counselors, chefs, farmers, and one quiet girl who said her dream was to build kitchens under bridges. "We'll help you," Trump said. "We always help the ones who dream weird." On the second anniversary, a new documentary aired. It was called The Plate That Changed a Nation. Millions watched, millions cried. But Trump never promoted it. He was busy loading trucks in a rainy lot in Missouri. A boy there asked, "Do you miss being president?" Trump smiled. "Not today." "Why?" "Because today I helped make sure your sister gets dinner." The boy nodded. "Then I guess you're still the boss." Gracie handed the boy a bracelet. "Now you are too." That night, Tyler sat down to write his second book. The first line read, "I used to think miracles came from heaven. Turns out, sometimes they walk out of gold buildings in Florida with their sleeves rolled up and ask your name." And somewhere in a quiet town, another bracelet got tied. Another sandwich got warmed. Another child who thought the world forgot them finally felt full. 3 years in, the impact was no longer a story. It was a structure. The second plate had become part of the American bloodstream, embedded in schools, shelters, neighborhoods, even military bases. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't loud. But it never missed a meal. One morning, Trump arrived at a boys' home in Tennessee. They didn't know he was coming. The director met him at the door, stunned. "You drove all the way out here?" "I didn't come for applause," Trump said. "I came because you matter." Inside, a young boy handed him a drawing. It showed Trump holding a giant sandwich with kids climbing it like a jungle gym. "That's the biggest sandwich in the world," the boy said. Trump laughed. "Let's make it real someday." On the drive back, Gracie fell asleep in the back seat, curled up beside a box of bracelets. Tyler scrolled through stories on his phone. One was about a teen in Detroit who built a robot that delivered food to elderly neighbors. Another was a single mom in Alaska who turned her porch into a 24-hour snack station. Trump didn't say much. He just nodded, a quiet grin pulling at the corner of his mouth. "It's catching," he finally said. "What is?" Tyler asked. "The courage to care." That summer, a new initiative launched, Plates in the Sky, partnering with airlines to deliver meal boxes to rural airports and remote communities. Food dropped off by pilots, picked up by volunteers. In the mailboxes were more than sandwiches. There were notes, stickers, prayers, even tiny books written by Gracie and illustrated by kids across the country. One pastor called it "Airmail from Angels." Trump loved that. He printed it on the side of the boxes. In August, a global summit in Geneva extended an invitation to Trump, not as a politician, as a humanitarian. He declined, sent Tyler instead. "This is your story now," he said. "I'll stay back and do the work." Tyler spoke before 42 nations. No tie, no speech, just a photo of the trash can. "This is where it began," he said. "Not in power, in hunger, and someone deciding not to look away." He received a 10-minute standing ovation. Meanwhile, back home, Trump visited a women's shelter in Iowa, carried a box inside, sat in a folding chair, talked with a mother of 5. "You don't seem like the man on TV," she said. "That's because the cameras only catch the noise," he replied. "Not the service." She smiled. "You've served more than most will ever know." Later that evening, Tyler called. "You proud?" "Proud of you," Trump said. "Proud of what you made." "We made it together." "No," Trump said. "You made the world listen. I just gave you the moment." Fall brought new growth. The first generation of Hope House graduates started college, many on full scholarships funded by the Second Plate. Gracie released her first children's book, The Boy Who Fed the World. It became an instant bestseller. Trump never took a dime. Every royalty went back into the network. "It was never about money," he said. "It was about mirrors, holding one up to this country so we could see ourselves again." On Thanksgiving, the trio returned to Mar-a-Lago. Just the 3 of them. No cameras, no chefs. They cooked a simple meal together. Gracie said grace. Tyler carved the turkey. Trump handed out seconds. At the end of the night, Tyler looked over. "You ever think about that kid by the trash?" "I never stopped," Trump said, "and I never will." By year 4, they stopped counting meals. Not because the numbers didn't matter, but because the stories did more. One night, a storm knocked out power in a Texas town. A Hope House there stayed open using candles and camp stoves. Volunteers passed out soup and dry socks. A kid stood at the door holding an umbrella over an elderly man in a wheelchair. A photo of it went viral. The caption just read, "We learned it from Trump." Back at Mar-a-Lago, Trump sat with Tyler and Gracie by the fire. No TV, no phones, just quiet. "What's next?" Gracie asked. Trump leaned back. "You tell me." "I want to go bigger," she said. "I want bracelets on every desk. Hope houses in every country." Tyler added, "And a program to help kids like me tell their stories. Not just get help, but lead." Trump nodded. "Then, let's do it. We've already built the table. Now we build the stage." Within months, they launched Voices Forward, a storytelling academy for youth leaders. The first class included kids from over 20 states, each with a past, each with a purpose. They learned how to write, speak, lead, how to heal out loud. "We're not victims," one said. "We're visionaries." Meanwhile, the second plate expanded into disaster relief. When a tornado ripped through a Kentucky town, Hope House trucks were the first to arrive. Before FEMA, before the media. One girl handed Trump a bottle of water and said, "I knew you'd come." He smiled. "I always will." Then came the award. The Nobel Committee reached out. For his role in ending widespread child hunger across the U.S. and inspiring global reform, Donald Trump had been nominated for the Peace Prize. He declined. "The food is the reward," he said. "The full stomach, the full heart." The world didn't forget, though. His name now showed up in history books next to the word compassion. He didn't want statues. He wanted stories. And so, schools began dedicating Trump tables, places in cafeterias where no kid ever sat alone. Gracie helped design them. Tyler helped launch them. One principal said, "This table changed our school." Kids talk now. They see each other. In one diner in Ohio, a kid left a bracelet on a ketchup bottle. The next morning, it was gone. A waitress wore it. She said, "I found it, and I kept it, because I needed it more." In D.C., a retired senator walked into a Hope House unannounced. Sat down, served soup, no cameras, just change. He told a reporter, he didn't just build buildings, he built a new kind of America. At a private dinner one evening, Trump stood, raised his glass of water, and said, "To the kids, to the ones we ignored, the ones we failed, the ones we see now, you fed us more than we ever fed you." And Tyler raised his too. "To the man who didn't walk past the trash." Gracie tapped her glass against theirs. "To the bracelets that remind us we're still connected." And in that quiet moment, under soft lights and years of memories, they knew something few people ever get to feel. Completion. Not as an end, but as a legacy. Because hunger would always try to come back. But now, so would hope. The Bracelet Museum opened on a spring morning in Kansas. Small town, big heart. Thousands of bracelets lined the walls, each one a story, a prayer, a moment. Some were made from yarn, others from rubber bands or shoelaces. One had a note beside it, worn by my daughter every day while we were homeless. She never took it off. Now she works here. Trump visited quietly, walked the hall alone, took his time. At the end, he reached a glass case. Inside was the very first bracelet Gracie ever made. Faded pink. Letters slightly off. Still perfect. He stood there for a while, one hand on the glass. The guide didn't say a word, just stood nearby, crying. That night, Trump returned to Mar-a-Lago, sat alone on the back patio. Tyler and Gracie arrived late, holding pizza and root beer. They sat together under the stars, plates on their laps, like the early days. "The bracelet museum is something else," Tyler said. "It's not about me," Trump said. "It's about what we built together." "No," Gracie said. "It started with you. You made us believe someone up there cared." "God did the rest," Trump said. "I just listened." The next day, he received a call. The mayor of New York wanted to rename a street near a school food pantry after him. Trump paused. "Name it after Tyler." The mayor agreed. Weeks later, Tyler James Way was unveiled. Kids marched down it wearing bracelets. One held a sign, "He fed me. Now I feed others." Across the country, more signs popped up. Not political ones, personal ones, handmade, tape on windows, painted on sidewalks. He stopped. He listened. He fed. One was carved into a wooden bench. "Because one man cared, I didn't give up." And still, Trump stayed low. No speeches, no stage, just boxes, meals, notes. He said it best one morning in Ohio, handing out oatmeal at a shelter. "I didn't start a charity. I answered a knock." That year, the Department of Education added a new program, Compassion Credits. High school students could earn credits by volunteering in food programs. Guess who wrote the curriculum? Tyler. Guess who tested it? Gracie. Guess who funded it quietly behind the scenes? Trump. And in one school in Arkansas, a senior who had been through 6 foster homes passed his final exam by sharing his story. "I was angry," he said. "Then I got a bracelet and a bag of food, and I started dreaming again." The room gave him a standing ovation. In the front row, his counselor wept. He used to think he was invisible. Now he was seen. And so were millions of others. Because one man took a walk after dinner and didn't call security. Because he sat on the ground with a hungry boy and said, "Tell me everything." Because he kept showing up. Long after the cameras left. Long after the crowd stopped cheering. Because he never did it for the crowd. He did it for the kid, and the sister, and the sandwich, and the soul of a country that had forgotten how to feed its own. Until someone reminded them. The final Hope House was built on the edge of the Grand Canyon, a place no one thought would ever need one. But it wasn't for food. It was for stories, a retreat center, a healing space, a safe house for youth who had seen too much too young. Trump stood on the red rock ledge, wind in his hair, watching it all go up. Gracie ran the ribbon cutting. Tyler led the first group of teens on a nature walk. That night, they lit a campfire. No speeches, no press, just real words in the dark. One teen said, "I used to think I'd be dead by now, but this bracelet? It's a promise I made to myself, and a promise someone else believed I could keep." Another said, "When people saw me, they saw trouble. Mr. Trump saw me like a person." Trump didn't say much, just nodded, threw another log on the fire. Sometimes silence is the loudest kind of love. The next morning, Tyler handed Trump a letter. "Found it in a school mailbox in Michigan," he said. Trump opened it. A girl's handwriting. Slanted, awkward, real. "Dear Mr. Trump, my family used to eat in the dark so no one would see. Now we eat with the lights on. I don't know why you helped us, but thank you for not forgetting kids like me. I'm going to help others now, too." Trump folded the note slowly, slipped it into his breast pocket. "She gets it," he said. She's the future. And she was. Because the next wave of leaders weren't polished. They were hungry. Not for power, for change. Because they had once been forgotten. And now they carried the light. At a donor event in Dallas, someone asked Trump what legacy meant to him. He didn't point to towers or headlines. He pointed to a picture of Tyler, Gracie, and a group of kids with empty plates now full. That, he said, right there. Another man asked, "Would you do it all again?" "Even if it cost me everything," Trump said, "because some things are bigger than power. Feeding people is one of them." That fall, a school district in Montana reported its first full year with 0 child hunger. A girl stood at a podium during a celebration and said, "The day Mr. Trump walked into that shelter, he didn't just give food. He gave us our future back." Meanwhile, Gracie was writing her second book. Tyler was mentoring youth across 5 continents. And Trump? He was packing boxes. Still, in a hoodie now, just another man moving silently behind a warehouse, stacking hope. Because he never stopped. Not when the press moved on. Not when people said he'd done enough. Because enough is never enough when kids are still hungry. One night, back at Mar-a-Lago, Trump stood by the window watching the breeze stir the palm trees. Tyler came in holding a binder. "We hit it," he said. "Hit what?" "50 million served and counting." Trump turned. Didn't smile. Just nodded. "Let's make it 100. "You're not tired?" "Tired is a luxury," he said. "They didn't quit on me. I won't quit on them." Outside, the sky was clear. The stars bright. And somewhere, a child who used to cry himself to sleep now sat at a warm table, bracelet on his wrist, light above his head, belly full, and heart fuller. The invitation came in a plain envelope. No seal, no title. Just a return address from a rural town in Alabama. Inside, a child's crayon drawing of Air Force One, and a note that said, "Do you remember when you flew the boy and his sister to D.C.? That was the moment America changed. Will you come visit my town too?" Trump didn't hesitate. He flew down the next morning. No convoy, no staff. Just him, a duffel bag, and a promise to keep showing up. The town didn't have much. A school with patched-up windows, a single diner with 3 working booths. But they had heart. And they had a hope house. He walked in without announcement. Kids froze. Then they cheered. One hugged him around the waist. "I thought you were just a story." "I'm real," he said. "And so are you." They gave him a bracelet. It had their town's name on it, drawn in uneven Sharpie lines. He wore it proudly. "I'll wear this when I speak next," he said, "even if it's just to one person." That afternoon, he helped serve peanut butter sandwiches and applesauce, sat on a folding chair, listened to a girl tell him how she wanted to be a chef. "You will be," he said. "Then I'll eat at your restaurant someday." He left that night quietly. No fanfare, just the stars above a town that felt less forgotten. Back at Mar-a-Lago, Gracie had set up a wall with pins, one for every place Trump had visited. There were hundreds now. The whole country looked like it had been kissed by grace. Tyler updated the impact board. A digital map showing real-time meal counts, bracelet requests, volunteer sign-ups. "It's alive," he said. "Bigger than us now." Trump nodded. Exactly what we wanted. Then came the letter. From the boy. The boy who had once dug through trash. Now a teenager. Living in a real home. Adopted by a family who volunteered at Hope House. Top of his class. He'd written, "Mr. Trump, thank you for seeing me. I still think about that sandwich. I think about how one moment changed everything. I've decided what I want to do. I want to help kids like me. Because I was never just hungry. I was searching, and you found me." Trump read it twice. Then he folded it slowly, pressed it to his chest. "He found his future," he whispered. "Now we make sure no one else loses theirs." That week, Trump announced his final initiative, the Last Plate Fund, a forever endowment to ensure no child in America would go without a meal, no matter who was in office, no matter what the economy did. Because hunger doesn't wait for elections, he said, and compassion doesn't run on a clock. It was the largest privately funded anti-hunger program in the nation's history. Fully independent. Built to last 100 years. Gracie cried when she saw the check. Tyler hugged him. "You just gave the next generation its shot." Trump shrugged. "They always had it. We just cleared the way." That night, he sat alone on the balcony again. A warm breeze stirred the curtains. A single bracelet lay on the table beside him. Faded now. Worn thin, but strong. Like the country it came from. Years later, long after the headlines faded and the country moved on to other noise, the bracelet remained, displayed in a small glass case inside the original Hope House in Florida. Visitors still came. Teachers, veterans, struggling parents, curious children. They walked the halls, touched the walls, read the notes taped to lockers. Everyone a story, everyone a reminder. And in the final room, a video played on loop. No voiceover, no music, just grainy footage of a man in a dark windbreaker kneeling beside a trash can under a Florida night sky, offering half a sandwich and a hand. The screen faded to black with simple white words. One moment, one child, one country that remembered how to care. Tyler took over the foundation full-time. He gave up the suits, wore hoodies and boots like Trump used to, traveled to towns no one talked about, told stories in cafeterias and courtrooms, started each speech with the same sentence. "I was just a hungry kid until someone powerful looked me in the eye and asked if I was okay." Gracie opened her own school, the Table Academy, a place where children learned reading, writing, and compassion. Every lunch started with a moment of thanks. Every desk came with a bracelet. One student said, "I don't feel small here. I feel seen." On the anniversary of the movement, they held a silent gathering at Mar-a-Lago. No speeches, just candles. One for every million meals served. 50 million strong. Gracie lit the first. Tyler lit the last. Trump didn't speak. He just watched. Tears in his eyes, a bracelet on his wrist. In the weeks that followed, the media tried to sum it up. They called it the Quiet Revolution. Others called it Trump's redemption. But to those who lived it, it was something else. It was family, it was faith, it was food and fire, and one man refusing to walk past the forgotten. He never ran for office again, never built another tower, but he built something else. A movement of meals, a culture of care, a country that saw its own again. In his final public letter, released just weeks before his passing, Trump wrote, "If you remember anything about me, don't let it be the suits or the speeches. Remember the trash can, the bracelet, the boy, and remember that the most powerful thing any leader can do is kneel. Not to surrender, but to serve." And that's where this story ends. Or maybe, where it truly begins. Because every plate served is still being passed. Every bracelet made is still being worn. And somewhere out there, tonight, a child eats with the lights on, at a table surrounded by hope, wearing a promise on their wrist. All because someone didn't look away. And that's where this story comes to a close, for now. From a trash can behind Mar-a-Lago to 50 million meals served, this was never just about food. It was about seeing people again, believing in second chances, and proving that one moment of compassion can ripple across a country. Every American matters. No one is forgotten. No child is invisible. Where are you watching from today? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear your story too. If this journey of quiet leadership and real-world impact inspired you, please like the video and hit subscribe. We share true-hearted stories like this every week, stories that remind us who we are and what we can do when we lead with courage and care. Don't forget to share this video with someone who still believes that kindness changes things. Your support helps us keep these stories alive and spreading to the people who need them most. Thanks for being part of it. We'll see you in the next one.